Hi, my name is Katie, and today I'm going to do a storytime video about my miscarriage that I had back in 2012. This video will be sad, and if this video triggers anything for anybody, you can exit this video, but I just thought I'd share my story, my experience. Back in 2012, I had a miscarriage. What had happened is me and my boyfriend had actually broken up and taken a 3-month break. We got back together. I came back and I had to have gotten pregnant like the first or the second day we had gotten back together. He thought I had actually gotten pregnant with another guy's baby because of how quick I got pregnant, but I actually did not sleep with anybody else during our break, so I knew for a fact that it had to have been his baby, unless it was some other type of miracle. But yeah, I came back, we got back together. I ended up getting pregnant. How I found out I was pregnant is before I took an actual home test, I missed my period. It had been like a week or 2 weeks, and I had not started my period, and I was getting, I don't want to offend anyone, but I was getting extremely tender around my nipples, on my boobs, and like it even hurts. The slightest touch hurt. My boyfriend kept saying, "You're pregnant, you're pregnant, you're pregnant," and I just kept saying, "No, no, no." I didn't want to believe I was pregnant because, like I said, we had just gotten back together, and I wasn't sure how things were going to go. We were working out our issues, the reasons why we had actually broken up in the first place. So I did not want to believe I was pregnant. I just was like, I put it out of my mind. It actually took me 2 weeks to actually go to a store and buy a home pregnancy test, and when I did, we bought 2. We went straight home. I took the first one, and immediately, 2 lines. I was like, this can't be real. This isn't true. I started actually crying. I called my boyfriend into the bathroom. I was like, bring another test. He came into the bathroom. He kind of was just like laughing at me because I was bawling like a baby, and I was like, this isn't real. I tested myself again right away. Again, 2 lines. I knew I was pregnant. I had symptoms of being pregnant. The test said I was pregnant. I was bawling like a baby. I did not want to be pregnant. I did not want to be pregnant. Now, I felt like I was too young. I was not in a steady relationship. I was scared. So very scared. I don't think pregnancy is bad, and I was 22, so it's not like super young, but for me, I was not ready to have a child. I wasn't sure I even wanted to have children at that time. I wasn't ready to have children at that time. I had just barely gotten back with my boyfriend. What if we couldn't work out our differences? Was I going to be a single mom? I mean, there's a bunch of things going through my head all at once. I was bawling my eyes out. He's just laughing at me because he's like, why are you crying? It's okay. You're just being emotional. So, yeah, I just I was crying. I was big time crybaby. He told me not to tell his mom at that time, not yet, because he wanted to go to the hospital and actually, get the piece of paper that says I'm pregnant, not just a home pregnancy test. She could tell a little bit right away something was wrong with me. I had stopped crying. I made myself stop crying before I actually left the bathroom. I stayed in my room, but when I went out of the room, oh, we lived with her, if you're wondering how she knew right away. We lived with her. So, I went out of the room, and she looked at me and she's like, Katie, what's wrong with you? And I told her nothing, but she could tell that something was wrong. She thought I was sick, though. She didn't know exactly what I was. But, yeah, I didn't want to tell her. I didn't want to tell anyone. I just kind of was, like, hoping. So funny, and I know this isn't, like, not right, but I was just kind of hoping that the whole situation was just, like, I was dreaming it or something. So, yeah, I actually looked up for a place, like a clinic, a health clinic, an OBGYN, to do pregnancy tests, or, So I went and they did a pregnancy test. It came out positive. I knew it was going to come out positive. At first, they told me that the first thing they told me was I was 6 weeks pregnant, but for me, when I thought about it, I was like, that's not even impossible. That's not possible that I could be 6 weeks pregnant, because I had not even been back with my boyfriend yet for 6 weeks, or it was like 6 weeks to the day. I don't know. For him, he's like 6 weeks, so you come back. You came back to me and you're pregnant with some other man's child. I'm like, no, I promise I'm not. He's like, well, this lady said you're 6 weeks pregnant, and like I'm doing the math, and he's asking his mom, and he's like, Mom, the lady said she's 6 weeks pregnant, and it doesn't add up, and she's just like, I don't know, that's your guys' business. She didn't want to get into it, which I'm glad she didn't, because I knew I was telling the truth, and I knew unless it was some like God's baby or something, I mean, which I know is not gonna happen, but I'm just like, I'm making an point. I'm like, unless it's something else, you are the father. So yeah, on top of not even wanting to be pregnant, on top of stressing and like being scared to death, I was having to deal with that. So, yeah, the OBGYN office that I went to, the clinic I went to, said that they would do my first appointment when I was, I think it was 8 weeks. They would do like my first appointment, so I still had to wait until my next appointment. They scheduled me for an appointment. I went in. Oh, no, it was 12 weeks, because they actually said that they didn't start like doing anything until 12 weeks. It was 12 weeks, so I actually had to wait a while. In between the time of when I got my piece of paper and the time that I was waiting for my appointment, my boyfriend actually had to have surgery to have his gallbladder taken out. So he had to do that, and of course I was the one to help him do that, and he couldn't really move around after the surgery, and he couldn't get up and down off the bed very easily, so I had to help him. So I was kind of pulling him up off the bed. I went in at 12. I was supposedly going to be 12 weeks. They did the test, the drug test, to make you pee in a cup. They did blood work on me. They did the questionnaire. Well, I don't know if all clinics do this, because this is the only time I've ever been pregnant, but they did a questionnaire about my home life, asking if I felt safe, if the father was a good person, and if I was going to be in a safe environment, and blah, 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 all those questions. So I did that, and then my next appointment was actually going to be my ultrasound, my first ultrasound. And I felt good that day. They had given me, like, my vitamins. They had given me my prenatal vitamins. They had given me a bunch of, like, booklets, like, with questions and answers about pregnancies. They had given me, like, this was a little box and it says baby's first diaper, and I felt like I was actually at that time starting to get excited about it. It actually started to sink in, and I actually started to feel good about it. I went home that day and I went to my boyfriend's mom and I was showing her all this stuff, and I was really excited and really happy. And then a couple hours later I went to the bathroom and I was bleeding. Now it wasn't heavy bleeding, it was like pink. And it was only like when I wiped, but I was really, really worried. So I actually told my boyfriend, his boyfriend told his mom, and his mom actually ended up taking me to the hospital, to the emergency room. They did an ultrasound on me. Sorry if you hear noises, my boyfriend's walking around out there, but they did an ultrasound on me. They did tell me that the baby had actually stopped growing at 8 weeks, that I was 12 weeks along. That I was 12 weeks along, but the baby had stopped growing at 8 weeks. So the baby just had stopped growing. That day is the same day I had went to the hospital, or to the clinic, and I was really excited, and I almost was like, well, is this, the first thing that came to my head is this because I was thinking that I didn't want to be pregnant, that I was crying, is it my fault? The doctor, she did she did the blood test, and they just told me that it was nothing that I did, that she told me it was nothing that I did wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Nobody did anything wrong, that it just sometimes happens. And that it just happens. She told me I had a miscarriage, because my body was still trying to like take care of the baby, even though the baby had stopped growing, and my body was trying to hang on to it, and that my body will eventually, decide to get rid of it, and that I will have a miscarriage. She sent me home with pain medication, saying that I will end up being in a lot of pain, and I didn't actually feel any pain except for like normal period cramps until the day I actually passed the baby. I bled extremely heavy. I'm sorry if this grosses anybody out, but this is what happened to me. I was going through like a pad an hour, and the day that I actually passed the baby, I was going through more than one pad an hour, and I was getting really scared. We were at Walmart. I was walking around, and just out of nowhere, these cramps just started happening, and I did not know what they were. I did not know what they were at the time. I thought something's wrong with me, but I didn't want to go to the hospital. So, but they were coming like every, 3-4 minutes, and they were just extremely strong, and it was all of a sudden, and I was in Walmart, and we were walking around, and I was pushing the cart, and I was having to hang on to the cart, and like holding myself up. I was bending over because these cramps just out of nowhere were just like, it was the worst pain I've ever been in, and I have a pretty high pain tolerance level, so this was going on for maybe around 3 or 4 in the afternoon until sometime early in the morning the next day. I could not sleep. I was cramping every like 3 to 5 minutes. I did not know what it was. My boyfriend kept saying I need to take you to the hospital because I couldn't walk. I couldn't sleep because I couldn't get comfortable long enough to sleep. So I got up sometime, like I said, early in the morning. It was still dark out. I'm not exactly sure what time it was, but I was having to get up like every less than an hour and go to the bathroom because I was bleeding so heavy. I went to the bathroom one time and I sat down on the toilet and it was just like instant relief. And like I said, I don't want to gross anybody out, but it was just like I could feel the baby just come out of me. It was instant relief, like no more pain, no more cramps, nothing. I got up. I wanted to see, but there was so much blood that I just couldn't, and I didn't even want to flush the toilet, but I wasn't just gonna leave that there. But I had to, so I had to flush the toilet. So I did flush the toilet. I went back to the room, and I told my boyfriend what had happened. And he's like, that's good. So I actually did end up falling asleep. Well, not good, but good that I felt better. I'm sorry, let me explain. Good that I felt better, that I was in relief, because he was seriously worried about me because these cramps were happening and I was in extreme pain. So the next morning when we woke up, when it was daylight, I was like, yeah, I need to go to the hospital because I was still bleeding like extremely heavy, and they already told me that if I go through more than 1 pad an hour to come back in, that I could be hemorrhaging and I didn't want to bleed to death, and all this stuff was going through my head. So he ended up taking me to the hospital. They did a vaginal exam on me, and they told me the reason that I was cramping so bad is because that my cervix was actually dilating, like I was actually having the word just left my head. Contractions. That my body was preparing itself to actually pass the baby, and that I was still dilated. I don't know how much I was dilated, but it was enough that she actually had to stick her. Like I said, this is pretty gross, but when you have a miscarriage, you have a lot of blood clots, and she was pulling these blood clots out of me, and she said that, yeah, you're dilated quite a bit, and that the reason you were hurting so bad and why these cramps were happening is because your body was preparing itself to pass the baby, and that the bleeding should slow down as my cervix closes. And she did, she pricked my finger, did an anemia test on me. She said that I was fine, that my blood count was still great. She did give me these pills, these tiny little pills that I try to take for 3 days, just once a day. She said that these should help also slow down the bleeding. And she said just continue to take the pain medication if I feel any pain. I bled for like 2 weeks, and I have never went through so many pads in my life, and I hate wearing pads, especially sleeping with pads, because I always end up like making a mess. I've always had heavy periods anyways, but this was like a period times 10, so yeah, it was one of the worst experiences of my life, and one of the worst experiences. It's never easy for anyone to lose a baby. My boyfriend felt really guilty because he thought it was maybe because I was helping him after he had his surgery, get up and stuff. But I told him that whatever happened because it was just meant to be. That's how it's meant to be. That it had to have happened because it wasn't the right time for us to have a baby. Me and him are still together. We've been together for 6 years. Minus a little break that we took. I haven't, since then I haven't wanted, I have these little periods where I have gone through that I want children, but then again I don't want children. I'm not sure if I'll ever want children. And that's what I want. I don't, like, whatever you want, that's fine, but I don't think I'll ever want children. But that doesn't mean that the baby I lost that I didn't love, because I actually think about him or her all the time. And I think about what my life would have been like if I would have had the baby. I love my baby and will always love my baby, and I will always miss my baby. And it's hard sometimes. It's really hard sometimes, and it's hard for anybody. I'm sorry. It's hard for anybody to lose a baby. But yeah, well, I just wanted to share my experience. I'm sorry for anybody out there who's ever had a miscarriage and had to deal with the loss, or the loss of a child at all. I'm sorry, and the feeling never goes away of missing your child, because that child was a part of you. But I hope things get easier, and thank you for watching. I hope my experience helps someone who's ever gone through the experience or going through this experience. Just know that you're not alone. And I'm sorry for anything that's happened to anybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.